Staying connected socially can be really difficult, especially if you're caring for someone who has a dementia-related illness, because a lot of people just don't understand and they are either confused by it or they are scared of it or they just don't know what to do. So I strongly suggest being involved in a caregiver support group and then having one special person that you can have a meaningful, connected conversation with every single day. And I call this person a caregiving buddy. And I want to share a story with you about a woman, Hannah, that I met in Sacramento, California several years ago. She came up to me at a break and she said, "I want to tell you my story." And I said, "I love stories, so please tell me." Well, it turns out that Hannah has been taking care of her husband who has dementia for over 10 years. And earlier in the week, a storm had come through and it blew over this huge pecan tree that they had in their backyard. And she said it was so big that I couldn't get over it or around it to get to my chicken coop. She said, so I went out to the shed and I took my chainsaw and I spent the entire day cutting a walkway through this pecan tree's trunk. Well, I can tell you, Hannah may have been 60. She looked closer to 80, but she had been taking care of her husband for 10 years. So at any rate, she spent the entire day doing this, and her husband was sitting on the back steps watching her. And when she finished, she took the chainsaw back to the shed, and then she approached the house, and she was covered in sweat and sawdust and wood chips. And he looked up at her and he said, "Sure is a lucky thing that I wasn't out there when that tree fell." And she said, "Oh, sweetheart," she said, "if you had been out there and that tree had fallen on you, I would have gone into the house, I would have poured myself a glass of wine, and then I would have called 911. And he said, "Yep, sure is a lucky thing I wasn't out there when that tree fell." So later that night, after Hannah had fixed his dinner and gotten him ready for bed, she called her friend Jane, and Jane is her best friend who's also been taking care of her husband with dementia for many years. And she told Jane the story, and Jane just laughed and laughed, and she said, "Well, I know you better than that." She said, "You would have taken your time sipping that glass of wine, and then you would have ambled out to the backyard, and you would have checked on him, and if he was still twitching, you would have gone back into the house and poured another glass before calling 911. Well, they both howled. And, and it was just healthy, happy fun, irreverent fun. And I think it's important to know that unless someone has done this job, unless they have cared for a person with dementia, they cannot possibly understand. So if you have someone who is currently in the same situation or has been, and you can talk to them and you can be irreverent, you can laugh, you can be a little naughty with them. It is such a relief, and it will just ease your journey through this. The most important thing is that you have someone that you can talk to who will not judge you, who will not criticize you, who will not tell you how you should or should not feel. You just need a safe place to tell your stories and to laugh and sometimes to cry and to know that you will be accepted and lifted up regardless.